will be coming up in this particular bulletin. Well, in the highlights this morning, Abdi Mahmoud replaces Twalib Mubarak as at the helm of Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission and pledges to decisively deal with corruption. And former LSK President Nelson Harvey files a petition seeking formation of a tribunal to probe the conduct of the Chief Justice and the entire Supreme Court bench. And human rights defenders accuse Kenya of applying what they term as transnational repression. And let's begin with our lead story there, where Chief Justice Martha Koome has firmly declared that she will not resign. The statement comes hot on the heels of a petition filed by former Law Society of Kenya President, that is Nelson Harvey, seeking her removal from office along with 6 Supreme Court judges. In a petition filed on Monday, Harvey wants President William Ruto to form a tribunal to probe the conduct of the Martha Koome-led bench, citing gross misconduct, misbehavior, and other serious allegations. Here is our reporter Abdiaziz Hashim with more on the new legal battlefront facing the Supreme Court judges.
Chief Justice Martha Koome and the 6 Supreme Court judges find themselves on the receiving end.
This issue of judges taking bribe on a daily basis, on every case they handle, I mean, this is something that has snowballed in the last 10 years. Yes. And that is why people are losing their property.
And that's why we've been emphatic. We'll go for all these judges, and we'll go for the commissioners of the Judicial Service Commission who do not want to do their work.
This is after former LSK President Nelson Harvey moved to file a petition seeking her removal from office alongside Deputy Chief Justice Philomena Mwilu, Justices Mohamed Ibrahim, Smokin Wanjala, Njoki Ndugu, Isaac Lenaola, and William Ouko, citing integrity queries. Harvey, in a 253-page petition, accuses the Koome-led bench of gross misconduct and misbehavior. Further, in the affidavit, Harvey has faulted the Chief Justice for allegedly lacking in leadership and failing to provide direction in the judiciary. Harvey also referred to a 2022 contempt of court ruling in which he, alongside his assisting counsel Esther Angawa and fellow senior counsel Ahmed Nasir Abdullahi, were convicted. On March 31, 2022, the 7 judges of the Supreme Court of Kenya, acting through the CJ Koome, resolved that Ahmed Nasir Abdullahi and Nelson Harvey will not appear before them. However, in a quick rejoinder, Chief Justice Martha Koome has stated that she is not ready to throw in the towel.
Judicial Service Commission is no longer an option because Martha has made it, a club that protects judges. That is why we are looking for now evidence. That is now we will go frontal attack on the judiciary because, I mean, we can't get justice through the Judicial Service Commission.
We must have the Chief Justice resign. Why do we say so? Because the Chief Justice is the head of the Judicial Service Commission. She chairs the Judicial Service Commission's function. She has evidence of judges who are corrupt, but she's not doing anything.
You asked me whether I would resign. I would also ask you, why would I resign? I have a tenure. I was appointed to serve for a tenure, and you have not given me reasons why you would want me to resign.
Further, she revealed she was yet to see the contest of the petition filed before the Judicial Service Commission, in which she chairs.
I'm actually not aware of the petition that has been brought to the JSC for my removal and the removal of the entire commission. I don't know when it was brought. We had a meeting of the commission on the 7th of January, and it was not tabled before us. Perhaps it's still on the way.
This comes as the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission EACC shared its findings with Koome in regards to corruption within the judiciary.
To come and assist them to deal with issues of corruption that might be existing in the judiciary. And we had already done what we call corruption assessment and gave them a report, which this morning the Chief Justice shared with us the progress that they have made, some of the things that they are doing.
I understand there are many brokers out there who broker for magistrates and for judges. Even if there are no brokers and the judges and magistrates are brokering for themselves, we want to bring this to an end.
Koome had earlier called on the anti-graft and newly appointed CEO Abdi Mohamud to tackle the problem of graft within the judiciary. Harvey has urged the JSC to recommend to President William Ruto to form a tribunal to investigate the conduct of the 7 Supreme Court judges to have them forced out of office.
Now, EACC CEO Abdi Mohamud has pledged to deal with cases of graft decisively and ensure any proceeds of graft are recovered and returned to the state. Mohamud, who took over as the anti-graft boss following the exit of Twalib Mubarak, made the remarks during the swearing-in ceremony presided over by the Chief Justice Martha Koome. Further, he pledged to ensure that during his 6-year tenure, he will ensure that the Commission upholds its integrity as well as tackle the challenges of bribery along the roads.
It is not actually the amount or the action done by the traffic police officer at that time. What we are looking at is the consequence that arises out of the action of the officer who may have received a bribe. If, for example, in the process, one public service vehicle gets involved in an accident and kills people, that is a huge loss. So the actions of the outcomes of the action is actually what is of more concern. Another example I may give is if, for example, an immigration officer at our points of entry receives a bribe and lets in someone who is a security threat to our country. He may have received 1,000 shillings or 2,000 shillings. But when you consider the consequences of his action, that is what we are looking at.
So we need to work very collaboratively to ensure that judiciary is doing what they're supposed to do. Without any hiccups of hindrances, but also that we also do our part so that we make your work easier.
So we will work together mainly to educate the public that in the judiciary, justice is not for sale. I understand there are many brokers out there who broker for magistrates and for judges. Even if there are no brokers and the judges and magistrates are brokering for themselves, we want to bring this to an end.
Away from that, President William Ruto says the government will educate, mentor and support children to exploit their talents so that they can productively contribute to the transformation of the country. The president says the introduction of the Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education KCSE media series is a testament of the government's resolve to accord candidates a second shot at academic excellence so that they can become part of Kenya's transformation journey.
Of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Ngando, Dagoretti South, Nairobi County. President William Ruto officially handing over the Lenana School primary tuition block and school uniforms to more than 2,500 learners. The head of state says the government is committed to streamlining the education sector by offering quality education and mentorship for posterity. With the recent announcement of the introduction of the Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education KCSE media series, Ruto says the move is a deliberate effort at giving candidates who did not sit the exam owing to external factors or those keen on retaking a subject a second shot at academic excellence.
Na tutahakikisha ya kwamba hiyo mtihani tutaikamilisha kwa muda ili watoto wakifanya vizuri zaidi wanaweza kuungana na wenzao wanaenda university mwezi wa 9 so that we can also encourage more of our children to qualify. Kwa sababu it is not right to condemn some of our children on account of 1 or 2 subjects that they may have failed for one reason or another.
He announced an additional 1 billion shillings allocation to constituencies in Nairobi County in the next financial year, meant to ease congestion in public schools, targeting to build 3,500 new classrooms.
Nairobi ndio iko na changamoto kubwa sana ya watoto wa kusoma shuleni. That is the challenge we have in the city of Nairobi. Na haiwezekani Nairobi ikiwa ndio sura ya Kenya, iwe ndio mahali ambapo watoto wengi hawasomi kwa sababu hawana mahali pa kwenda shuleni.
Umetupatia pesa 58 million kila mbunge tujenge madarasa, na hiyo pesa tuko nayo, tunafanya kazi kule kwa ground.
Hivi leo Mheshimiwa Rais, tunakushabikia, tunakusherehekea, tunakupea asante za kipekee kwa kuweza kutufungulia block hii mpya ya madarasa 24.
There's in addition to 14,000 classrooms already completed across the country that he says have streamlined the grade 9 transition under the competence-based curriculum CBC. Emphasizing on the need for partnership, President Ruto called on parents to remain wary of bad elements within the Kenyan political ranks, keen on inciting and impacting bad morals on young ones.
Kuna wengine wanachochea hawa watoto wetu. Wanachochea hawa watoto endesheni matusi. Wewe ni mzazi wa aina gani? Wewe ni kiongozi mwenye akili aina gani? Unawachochea watoto wetu waendeshe matusi, waendeshe mambo mabaya, waendeshe tabia mbaya. Mimi nawauliza kama wazazi, let us look after our children.
Mimi naomba ya kwamba tuweke nidhamu na heshima ili tuwe nchi nzuri yenye nidhamu na heshima.
Nilisema kama unajua una boma ingine kwingine, kaa hapa, wacha matusi, usitusi president, heshimu Mheshimiwa Rais.
John Jacob Kuria, Prime Edition.
Thank you, JJ Kuria. Now, a day after Public Service Cabinet Secretary Justin Muturi raised concern over the alleged abduction of Kenyan youth and called on the government to hasten investigations, leaders have continued to express diverse views. While a section is in support of his sentiments, terming them bold, others want him to resign, saying he undermined the president.
4 hours later, the dust appears far from settling, following sentiments by Public Service Cabinet Secretary Justin Muturi on abductions in the country.
The security forces should arrest and bring to book all those that are involved in the abductions without fail, and all the young people being held in illegal captivity should immediately be freed.
Aldai Member of Parliament Marianne Kitani has called on the CS to resign, saying the sentiments were meant to undermine the president.
Wewe ujiuzulu, kuja ongea huku nje kama raia mwema. Ushike microphone kama raia mwema ukiongelesha ukigonga hiyo serikali. Lakini huwezi gonga serikali ukiwa ndani yake. Haiwezekani. Na usipojiuzulu, mimi nitapeleka motion bunge ya kusensha wewe.
Speaking in Magombeni area, the MP questioned why Muturi had not reported the matter concerning the abduction of his son months ago and only chose to speak now.
Kuna kitu inaitwangwa kwenda kuripot kwa police station. Kutoka hiyo miezi 6 tangu siku hiyo aliyekuwa abducted na kurudishwa paka saa hii hujaenda kuripot kwa police station. Unataka nani akufanyie hiyo kazi? Kwa nini hukuenda kwa hiyo cabinet useme juu ya hiyo mtoto yako na watoto wengine wa Kenya? Kwa nini hukusema?
Her sentiments come as Maragwa Member of Parliament Mary Waithera applauded Muturi for speaking up against abductions.
Mpaka saa hii Justin Muturi yeye ni CS wa Public Service hajawahi pata sababu gani mtoto wake akawa abducted. Kwa hivyo aliongea kwa uwazi akitaka kushikana na wale wazazi ambao watoto wao wametekwa nyara. Na kusema jambo fulani ni baya sio kusema Your Excellency hatukuheshimu. Sisi ndio tulikuchagua. Kumbuka Mauti Kenya zile kura ilikupea kwa sababu ilikupenda.
And speaking separately in Ituru village, Gatundu South, during a funeral service, former Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i called on Kenyans to embrace peace and sobriety and listen to the voice of the church.
Shida zetu ama our challenges do not distinguish between which part of the country you come from, which tribe you belong to, where do you go to church, and so on and so forth. Ama namna gani? Basi tufuate vile tunaelezwa na viongozi wetu hapa wa kanisa, tupendane, tusidi kuombeana na kukaa pamoja.
Nimesema hivi, we just need one presidential candidate. Between now and 2027, we are going to make a very incredible opposition.
Thank you, Nancy Okwari, for that report. And moving on, a section of human rights defenders led by Amnesty International has faulted the Kenyan government for applying what they term as transnational repression after the alleged abduction of Tanzanian journalist, that is Maria Sarungi. The scribe, who is known for her sharp criticism of the Tanzanian government, was reportedly abducted in Nairobi on the 12th of January 2025, an incident that has since sparked uproar among human rights defenders. Sarungi, who has broken her silence for the first time since the ordeal, has narrated the harrowing experience in the hands of her alleged abductors. She says the abductors acted on behalf of the Tanzanian authorities in an orchestrated attempt to silence her activism. She has at the same time challenged the Kenyan government to protect the rights of asylum seekers in the country.
They said, no, relax, we're taking you to the station. Then again, I tried because I felt like there is traffic. I tried to see if I can get out. Again, they tightened my handcuffs again, and they were making me lie down to my right. The guy who was holding me like that. The guy on the other side was holding the handcuff, was pulling my handcuff and sat on my legs. So I was begging them, don't sit on my leg because now you're hurting me and my back. After that, I remember that we were going more, and eventually what they were saying was that they're going to release me, but I must not look back. I cannot look at the car once they remove it, and I have to wait until I hear the car disappear. So I walked until I got to what looked like a main road, and I judged from the vehicles that the vehicles were coming from that side. So I decided that's probably where a lot of people are. Those people who come across trying to abduct us and trying to harm us across the borders should not be given any leeway. There should be a very intensive crackdown on the borders to ensure that these kind of security exchanges don't happen.
When foreign nationals do not feel protected, they don't feel secure in this country, then this is really dangerous.
Now, at least 6 county aggregation and industrial parks will be commissioned by the end of 2025 if the national and county governments manage to iron out challenges in marketing, production and policy gaps. In a meeting with county governors, Deputy President Kithure Kindiki added that the national and county governments ought to work together in addressing implementation bottlenecks within various counties on a case-to-case basis.
So far, according to the data from the Ministry of Trade and Investments, shows that so far 4.7 billion shillings has been allocated towards the implementation of county aggregation and industrial parks, which are underway in 14 counties. The project has faced some challenges in marketing, production and policy changes.
And then there are market issues, and some of them have policy implications, where national governments will require to make certain policy decisions.
However, Deputy President Kithure Kindiki says that the government is consequently working on project coordination, monitoring and county support in the upcoming phases of KIBE's implementation.
We can, between the national government and county government, go to the field and address the completion and other issues on a KIBE by KIBE basis to make sure that by the time the KIBE is commissioned, it is operational and it gives the value that was intended to be given.
The Ministry of Trade and Investment projects implementation in 3 phases over 2 years. The first phase targeting 14 of the 47 counties, while the second phase targeting 26 counties, and the last phase handling the remaining 7 counties.
A look at business, where the second phase of the government's performance evaluation exercise for the 2023-2024 financial year, targeting the Kenya Revenue Authority alongside other state corporations and ministries, has kicked off. Deputy Chief of Staff in charge of performance and delivery management at the Office of the President, that is Eliud Owalo, stated that the evaluation exercise at the agency seeks to enhance revenue collection by broadening, of the tax base and streamlining the facilitation of tax returns.
The government has launched a comprehensive evaluation of its ministry's performance for the 2023-2024 financial year. Over the past year, ministries, state corporations and tertiary institutions submitted quarterly performance reports via the Government Performance Contracting Information System. Today, the Performance and Delivery Management Unit in the Executive Office of the President began the performance evaluation process at the Kenya Revenue Authority headquarters, with plans to assess other ministries and state corporations. Deputy Chief of Staff Eliud Owalo emphasized that the evaluation will focus on specific interventions, including enhancing revenue collection, widening the revenue base, facilitating tax returns, and improving customer satisfaction levels.
Modify the indicators, we cannot modify the targets that were set. So we are here to look at the evidence of performance in line with the commitments that were made during the activity period 2023-2024.
These parameters were agreed upon during the signing of performance contracts. Owalo highlighted that the ongoing digitization efforts have significantly boosted KRA's tax collection capabilities, with over 20,000 government services now accessible online.
In line with the government's overall objective of enhancing the level of domestic revenue, that largely those targets and indicators were met. The government has undertaken all measures necessary to augment the efforts towards enhancing the level of domestic revenue.
The KRA Commissioner General Humphrey Watanga reported notable achievements, revealing that KRA collected 2.4 trillion shillings in 2023, a remarkable 11.1% increase from 2.16 trillion shillings collected in 2022.
Thank you, Carol Njenga. Let's look at sports now, where former Kenyan international and current Football Kenya Federation Deputy President MacDonald Mariga will be one of the three officials conducting the draw for the 2024 African Nations Championship, that is CHAN, on Wednesday night at the KICC. Mariga will conduct the draw together with Uganda's Hassan Waswa and Mrisho Ngasa of Tanzania, representing the three host nations for the 8th edition of the Continental Tournament for home-based players, set to run from the 1st to the 28th of next month. A total of 19 national teams, including host nations Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda and defending champions, that is Senegal, will compete in the tournament. Mariga was the first Kenyan footballer to play and win the UEFA Champions League, and also won the Serie A title, 2 Coppa Italia titles and the FIFA Club World Cup with Inter Milan. He played 40 games for Harambee Stars, scoring 5 goals. A look at rugby, where the Kenya National Rugby Sevens team will play New Zealand in their opening match of the Perth Sevens, which is the third leg of the HSBC Sevens World Series later this month. The Perth Sevens will be held from the 24th to the 26th of this month.
The Kenya National Rugby Sevens team will head to Australia later this month for the Perth Sevens, which is the third leg of the HSBC Sevens World Series.
Wakesa off his bootlaces. Wakesa stumbling and scoring. That does it. That's the ball game. And the dream for Kenya crystallizes before their eyes.
The Kenyan squad, pooled with giants New Zealand, Fiji and Uruguay, will be named on Wednesday this week ahead of their trip to Australia. Kenya will begin the third leg against New Zealand on the 24th of this month, before playing Fiji in their second game 5 hours later. They will wrap up their pool matches against Uruguay on 25th of this month. After the first 2 legs held late last year in Dubai and Cape Town, Kenya are 9th on the series table with just 11 points, 1 point behind 8th placed Australia and a massive 25 points behind leaders Fiji.
He has left them trailing in his wake. Oh, the Kenyans are back.
There are so many reasons why Kenya should be back on the World Series, and one of them is definitely their try-scoring celebrations. No matter how much they're feeling the pressure, they've always got a time for the love of the game.
After the Perth Sevens, the teams will return home to prepare for the 4th leg set for Vancouver in late February and then the Hong Kong Sevens in March.
One of the biggest, meanest, most important players.